Hey, welcome to Blue Jay Banner. It is Thursday, and we are back after a little respite. I have personally had a little time in New York, picked up a horrible cold virus, whatever the hell you want to call it. So that was fun. Joining Mike Rochon. Hey, Mike.
Hey Tim, you missed a lot of rain here while you were gone. So
Yeah, I tell you what, the weather in New York was just spectacular.
really
Like maybe got low 80s, a little breeze blowing. Yeah, it's fabulous, man.
nice.
I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah,
can't imagine the amount of walking you do in New York, and I can't imagine doing it if it was 95 and humid. I mean, it just would be brutal,
be awful.
but it was awesome. God, couldn't say enough. All right, welcome. Hey, make sure you reach out to all our sponsors, Infusion Brewing Company, RTF Threads, and Vino Moss. Three great sponsors, and we really, really appreciate everything that they do for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Helps us out a ton. As everyone should know by now, we've had a couple additions, so we thought we'd talk with them first. Now that the roster is quote unquote official, even though I thought it was official like months ago, but um, I know we had a couple open spots, but and those, by the way, so let me just start off there. So let's talk about the open spots. So they were intentionally left open
Yeah,
for two reasons. One, foreign players. They were working on several of those. Number two, if this situation warranted that you know, they could get the eligibility for that fifth year for those 2022 guys.
yeah,
They had a position to get some.
yep.
I think that happened primarily in one of these. The other one, there were other circumstances. But let's just start with the first one, which was Brody Robinson from Oakland. He's a guard, 5'11", 160 pounds.
Yeah,
Um, I really don't know a hell of a lot about him, although what I've seen and what I remember seeing from him, he reminded me a lot of the guy that uh, Ryan Miller had at Murray State last year that came off the bench, a little number 9. He reminds me a
yeah.
lot of him.
Okay.
Assists, can shoot the ball pretty well.
Yeah,
The problem with him was he like wore down once he got into the teeth of the Valley season. Like he wasn't as effective as he was earlier. I
right.
worry about that with a guy that's played, mid-major
Yeah.
basketball and certainly put up some impressive numbers.
Oh yeah.
I just don't know from perspective of our team roster right now, where he wedges in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's kind of the biggest low hanging fruit, so to speak. Like we've been to a couple practices. We've seen some things. We've seen what they're trying to do on offense. We've seen what they're trying to do on defense. And so then how does this guy, who's played his entire career at the mid-major level, and again, there's nothing wrong with guys that come from the mid-majors. We've had great success with them. But he's a smaller size guard, that's coming in, and it's going to be a massive, massive leap to Big East play, and quite frankly, the non-conference that Creighton has, that's that's right there too.
Right.
So, and yeah, last year at Oakland, putting up close to 18 points a game, close to 7 assists a game, shot the three-pointer at about 38%. So he can shoot the ball, and I think, if I'm just trying to maybe look at like a coach's perspective, competition is never a bad thing. So if Brody can come in and he's going to compete and make Wes and BJ and Austin Swartz and Cottrell, and make those guys compete day in and day out and give somebody different to go against, then why not take a chance on him?
Yeah, I think we needed some more practice plays. I'm not just saying that's what he is, because he could compete for playing time, no doubt. But
Yep.
I do think we need more depth there just for practice purposes, because we're probably, Wes is more going to play the two, so he can
Right.
play more the two. BJ's certainly a point guard. Cottrell is certainly a point guard. But you got to have guys that are capable of running point and playing point. I mean, Shane Thomas is one, but it's a lot to ask of him to
Yeah.
replicate certain point guard things.
Yep.
So I think that's certainly the case. And I think, as you mentioned, at the 160 pounds, I mean, he looks bigger than that, but
Right.
how's that going to translate to Big East play? Where BJ, you can say, well, he didn't play in Big East, yeah, but he played at a very high level in San
Yeah.
Diego State,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and their whole calling card is physicality. So
Yeah.
that's a little different. I think what we've seen of Cottrell, I think he can handle the physicality somewhat too. I mean,
Mhm.
even as a freshman.
Yep. But I mean, and again, unfortunately, as Creighton fans, we've unfortunately dealt with just bad injuries,
Yeah.
and so building any sort of extra depth that you can, I mean, it's a great thing. It's a really really smart. I think it's just a smart pickup by the Creighton staff. A guy who's probably not going to come in, rock the boat, or anything like that, and just give you, a guy, a solid depth piece, a guy who can come in and play. And the thing is you're not going to ask him to come in and play 25 plus minutes. That's not what, Creighton's going to be
No.
asking him to do. So, you know, getting him in small stints out there to give a blow, is just a smart thing, especially, if you are going to ask Cottrell to play some point guard in the Big East, everybody hits that freshman wall. So, are you going to be able to give him a little bit of a break and, maybe slow down his ramp up to playing high level basketball. So
Right. 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 Yeah, and yeah, that's a great point on the injuries. I mean, you never know. Like,
yep,
remember all those years, like, there's been several of them, I would say, over the last decade, several, where we went, oh my God, I don't know how we got to have playing time for these guys. Da, da, da.
right.
3 months later, we're short at some position.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's always happened.
Yep.
It's always happened.
Yep.
I just want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors here. First of all, Infusion Brewing Company. Go to infusionbrewing.com. Check all our hours of operation. Great tasting rooms, we mentioned many times. And, we don't mention this enough. Home of the Let It Fly beer. A staple now at the Creighton games and before the games at Let It Fly Sports Bar. So actually brewed by Infusion. So check it all out. That's infusionbrewing.com. And then there's Vino Moss. We talked a lot about the passport program they have at Vino Moss, where it's a rewards program. You get a passport, you stamp the different countries, types of wines you drink, and you ramp up gifts as you go along. So it's a lot of fun. Great live music on the weekends, great wine tasting at both locations in Legacy and Eagle Run. Check it all out. That's Vino Moss and vinomoss.com. And then RTI Threads, a longtime sponsor, and certainly we're looking forward to working with them again this year. Great Creighton gear, and it's time to ramp up your Creighton gear. Sports are underway already. So go and check it out. That's RTI Threads. Speaking of which, I think on Friday we'll probably take a look at what's been going on here with some of the fall sports and what's ahead with some of these teams as well. Okay, now the big signing was, of course, announcement of addition to the roster was Fred King. Fred had an excellent year last year. He really improved. Now the question is, was that against Valley competition? Sure it was. Was that the reason? I don't know. They had some pretty good centers, and
Yeah.
and frankly, some guys with different games.
Yeah.
Not just the big plotters, but guys that were versatile, could step out. So he had a lot of things to guard last year. A lot of different guys. I think he did a pretty good job of it. This we mentioned too, like depth. Do you ever have enough depth? I mean, you've got Oswin, you've got Rosa, who's admittedly in Al's kind of breakdown of the newcomers. That he's a project,
Yeah.
somebody we got to work with, and then Carter Givens, who just uh, probably needs a little bit of weight on him,
Yeah.
but he's physically, I mean, he's really gifted. He's
Uh,
really long
yeah.
and can do a lot of things. He can hit threes and do a lot of
Yep.
things. So again, an injury there, and we've already talked about a potential injury to Oswin. I mean, he did something to his shoulder. We know that. How severe it is, you get varying reports. So I think this was A, we have a spot. B, guy we're familiar with, guy that coach really likes. I know that. Um, C, we kind of got to have an insurance policy here because we don't know right now everything going on with Oswin. So until we see him back on the practice floor 100%, you got to assume that maybe there's going to be some time off here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right on all those. And the big thing that, kind of piqued my interest more with this pickup is the days of Ryan Kalkbrenner playing, 39 minutes a game. Like that's not realistic. That's just not how big guys normally operate. They're not playing. Most of them aren't even playing 30 plus minutes a game. So the fact that we can get a guy with the skill level of Fred King coming in and picking up those, 15, 18 minutes a game to give Oswin a break. And I don't, and it allows them to kind of just like we were talking about with Cottrell, kind of have the patience with Rosa because of the project that he is to not have to really, really speed him up and maybe he falters early, loses confidence, and then you've lost him, for most of the season, and he just can't get out of this funk. But now you're going to be able to bring him on a little bit slower to help out. And then, that's a good three-headed monster of Oswin, Fred King, and then, you can throw in Rosa and Carter Gibbons maybe as, a duo there. But I just think again, like I said with the Brody, it's just a really, really smart pickup by the staff because he knows Creighton's culture. He's not going to be a guy that's going to come in and rock the boat. He's going to know his role on the team, and it's just a really smart. I'm not saying insurance policy because I don't want to scare people like Oswin's really hurt just because we don't know anything on that really, but it's just a smart move.
Yeah, and one thing though, Fred, like all those years of him jacking up threes in the 3-point drills, finally paid off because last year he hit a few. He
Yeah.
looked comfortable out there shooting them. So
Yep.
there's a guy again that can stretch the floor, but he does not. The couple things Mike and I were talking about, off air, he does not have the mid-range game that Oswin does. Number
Yeah.
one.
Right.
Number two, he has as Oswin has his career too, but he has a propensity to get in foul trouble.
Yep. Yep.
And with the defensive scheme they want to run, he's got to be able to guard without fouling.
Yep.
Those would be the two things, and then just more a consistent rebounder.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
would be that thing with Fred.
Yeah.
So those would be the three things, heads up because he's ahead of the game because he knows the system, knows what he's getting into in the Big East.
Yeah. And
And play with physicality.
I think one of the big things, Fred's last year here, obviously you're behind Kalkbrenner, so you 100% know your minutes are very, very short lived. And that's always difficult for a player. Like, hey, I know I only got like a minute and a half max that I'm going to get to play. How can I, get the most out of this? But then you start thinking too much. And then going to Murray State, he was able to just play and get that confidence back. Fortunately, when he played when Kalkbrenner was out injured, he played really well for Creighton because he didn't have looking over his shoulder like, oh my gosh, I only got 30 seconds here, only got 45 seconds. So, last year he was able to gain that confidence at Murray State, and I think we'll see a different Fred King, this year at Creighton.
Yeah, so the roster's complete now. So now here's the thing I worry about. I don't know, maybe the NCAA doesn't have the appetite to do this, but some other judge comes along and says, no, they're
Right.
out.
Right.
And they feel calm. they've made some statements that they feel comfortable that that's still going to happen. Then what do you do?
Right.
Then what do you do? Right? I mean, so I'm just a little uncomfortable going down this hole, you know.
Yeah.
One of the reasons NCAA wanted to do this too was so they didn't swallow up a bunch of teams who have recruited freshmen into the fold and swallow up their time and
Right.
dilute the future of basketball when we're going to solidly get to the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And, that you look at Cottrell, that could happen here. I mean, there's another guy at his position now. I'm not saying that it will mean anything to him, but it could. And,
Oh yeah.
So, I just, yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. But hey, you got to fill your roster out. So,
Yeah.
got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I agree. There's obviously two ways, you can kind of take this is, hey, I don't believe in some of the guys we currently have, so we need to go get a few, or the best thing we can do is make these guys, compete day in and day out, and and not rest on, hey, I've got it made. Nope, we got this guy right behind you that's ready to take your minutes, and so there's no days off, so to speak. So
I would say it's the latter because I can remember talking with Huss last December before he was coach, and that he didn't come right out and say it, but it was about a 5-minute answer to a question I had to him. It was pretty evident that he wants to have rosters just full of guys.
yeah,
I mean, just full of guys that can play. There's no, he's just a guy that, if we get in bad foul trouble, he'll come up. No, he wants 15 guys who can all
yep,
go out there at any second and perform.
yeah.
And so I think, this kind of just goes with his philosophy.
Yep, and I love it. We've talked about it in the past. We've done like random J's and different things like that, where we had those guys that when they're checking into the game, it was kind of one of those like, uh-oh, type of situations, and so you build that roster up where you're confident in going down to the 10th, 11th guy,
Yeah.
and that's what Huss wants to build. And so far, from what we've seen, he's done it. So
Yeah. Can't wait to get into some of these exhibition games just to see
right,
how we square up against some of these teams. But
yeah,
at any rate, that's the roster set. We've got a lot of time to dig into that as well. We'll get into some of the fall sports on our next show tomorrow and check out what's ahead for them and maybe some other tidbits that we have. For Microphone, I'm Tim Kruger. Thanks for listening and watching, and we will see you on Friday.
go Jays.